Welcome back to the Healing Her podcast. I'm so glad that you pressed play today, because this space it's really just about continuously coming home to yourself, especially in the moments when it would be so much easier to disconnect, react, or to default to old patterns, right? And so what we're going to be talking about today is one of those moments, because I know you felt it, because I have felt it. That knot in your stomach before you walk into a room where the energy feels just so heavy, or, that kind of ache that you get after being around somebody who drains you, even or especially if you love them. Or even that kind of frustration of doing all of this inner work and then watching it kind of all get a little bit scrambled when you're around particular people. And it's such a real experience. And it doesn't mean that you're, doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you've messed anything up, right? It just means that there's something here to meet with more softness, more awareness, more support, right? So in this episode today, we're going to really explore what that actually means, like what it actually means to protect your energy in a way that's, not about fear or avoidance, but about true sovereignty. Because, let's be honest and real about it for a minute. Sometimes you just cannot cut people out. You can't always unfollow, block, or walk away in real life sometimes, right? So the question really remains, like, what do you do when you still have to be there, right? But you want to stay in your own energy. So essentially that's where we're going to go today. I'll share some stories and a few practices that have helped me and my clients to really stay anchored, and a couple gentle reminders for your heart, right, as you navigate this in your own life. So if you need to take a moment to pause and go and make a tea, take a breath, go ahead and do that, and then come back in and we'll get into it. All right, so actually, of course, I want to start with some storytelling because that's how I roll. And it's not because I think you need another example, right? But because sometimes it can be just so validating to hear how your experience is reflected back to you through someone else's similar experience, right? It's like, oh, this isn't just me. I'm not alone in this, right? So one of my beautiful, beautiful clients came into a healing session with me not that long ago, and within minutes she was in tears. And she's somebody that she's a leader. She holds such big space for other people through her work, her friendships, in her relationships, even just generally how she moves about in the world, right? She's done a lot of deep, deep healing over the years. She's anchored, she's grounded, all these things. But when it comes to being around her partner's family, something just shifts in her. She second guesses herself. She gets, I guess, quiet. She gets a little bit quieter. She feels a little bit smaller. Her body just tenses up. And she always walks away feeling just completely dysregulated. Like she's been pulled out of her own energy without even realizing it in the moment when it's happening. And what really hit me during our session when we were chatting back and forth about this was when she said, I don't want to feel like I have to shrink just to keep the peace. Like, she said that, and there was this just moment of, I really feel that. Because, like, really, for so many of us, especially women, especially intuitive, sensitive women, we were taught that keeping things smooth, keeping the peace was so much more important than staying true to ourselves. Don't rock the boat kind of vibe. And so, our energy gets kind of porous, if you will. We try to manage everyone else's feelings. We anticipate their reactions. We protect them instead of protecting ourselves. Like, let that sink in. We protect them over protecting ourselves. But your light was not meant to be dimmed in order to make others uncomfortable. Rather, in order to make others comfortable. Your light was not meant to be dimmed to make others comfortable. right? Your peace matters, even when it's inconvenient, even or especially when it's inconvenient. So, okay, when you hear the word or the words or the phrase, protect your energy, like what happens in your body? Because I feel like it's become a little bit of a buzz phrase. You see it on Instagram, you see it on mugs, on t-shirts and spiritual memes, but what does it actually mean? Like, what's the meaning behind that, really? And more importantly, what does it look like in real life? And for you, not the person next to you, what does it look like or feel like in your life? Because to me, protecting your energy isn't about building big psychic walls or closing yourself off from the world. Not at all. It's not about labeling people as toxic and pushing them away. No. It's really about staying anchored in your own frequency, even when you're in the thick of it, even when someone's projecting onto you. And I've noticed that this has been a really big thing and a big test for me, particularly during this pregnancy. I think I might have to do a whole other episode just on pregnancy projections, or especially as, a line 5 in human design. But anyway, that's another story. But staying anchored in your own frequency, even when you feel misunderstood or when the room feels off and all you want to do is run away. Protecting your energy is not about disconnecting. It's really, when it comes down to it, it's about discerning. It's about learning how to stay with yourself no matter what's happening externally, no matter who's around you, no matter what room you're in. And that's something that, it comes with practice, and it comes with a lot of compassion and with learning how to read your own energy just as well as you read everybody else's. And I think that's the key thing that we often skip or miss out on. Because if you've ever found yourself, constantly drained or overwhelmed or overthinking after a conversation or needing hours to reset after being around certain people, your system is probably running on old protective patterns, and there's this theme that keeps coming up, and it comes up in different seasons and waves, right? Where people think, oh, there's something wrong, that something needs to be fixed. You are never, ever broken, right? If this is resonating in your body at the moment, you're just ready for a new way, right? So I kind of want to break this down into something a little bit more practical, or I guess a little bit more tangible, like bite-sized pieces that you can take away. Because I think sometimes when it comes to energy work or conversations around energy, it can feel a little bit floaty. Like, okay, well, what do I actually do with that? So these are the 4 energetic shifts that I constantly come back to, both for myself and for my clients when we're in session. When being around someone isn't optional, right? But staying in your power is essential, right? So the first one is all about being intentional before you enter the space. So much of our energetic overwhelm happens before we step into the space. We start bracing, we start assuming and predicting, our bodies tense up, our nervous system is basically already halfway into a stress response before anything's actually happened. So when this starts to sort of come into your awareness, right? Instead, just take a hot second to pause, to slow down, to tune into your body, right? Really allow yourself a moment to listen to it. What do you want to bring into this interaction? How do you want to feel? How do you want to experience what's about to happen? What part of you might be tempted to overextend or explain or even prove or perform? So you might, and this is, you'll find your own way depending on the situation, and not all of it is really necessarily available in any given situation. But if you can create yourself like a tiny ritual, maybe it's an online meeting or a meeting you're going into that is going to be stressful, you're assuming is going to be stressful. You could light a candle or just take some deep breaths before going in, or maybe it's as simple as repeating a little intention to yourself, like, I stay rooted in who I am. I don't take on what's not mine. Something that I always like to repeat is, if I find myself in a situation and I haven't done anything like this ahead of time because it wasn't expected, perhaps a friend or a colleague or a family member or someone is kind of like the energy of coming at you with their venting or with their stress or whatever it might be. And I like to repeat the saying or the intention, their energy is not my energy. Their energy is not my energy. And I've said this a few times before on the podcast, I think. And it's really about I can hold space for somebody and not take on their energy. You don't have to take on what's not yours. You might like to just place your hand over your heart and just feel yourself land. Give yourself a moment to breathe, to come back into your body and just feel that moment of okay, I'm here. You're not walking into a situation to defend yourself. You're walking in already grounded in your own truth, in what's yours, in your own energy. The second thing is using your anchor points, right? This is a key thing here. Anchor points, not armor. So you don't need to visualize a wall of mirrors or an energetic force field if that doesn't resonate. Sometimes it does, and if that's the case, go for it. I often like to visualize a shield. Sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's crystal white, and it's this beautiful energetic shield that's around me that protects me. And if that works for you, amazing. If you need something else, what you need to do is, or an invitation I should rather say, is to anchor. Right? Just to anchor. It's a reminder of, your own essence, something that says, this is me, even when you're in a space that doesn't feel safe or aligned, right? So a couple of examples of anchor points might be, maybe it's a piece of jewelry or clothing that reminds you of your power. I wear certain pieces of jewelry when I'm working, and certain pieces or certain crystals when I'm working to help assist me in the healing of my clients, and equally to protect my own energy and knowing that, like we were saying before, their energy is not my energy, that kind of vibe as well. Or maybe another anchor point might be a scent that brings you back into the present. Maybe it's some essential oil or a grounding balm, or, a scent that you can bring to your mind as well is also good. Maybe another anchor point might be some breath work or some breath practices that bring you back into your center, or even if it's something as simple as saying your name quietly to yourself, or just in your mind. I would say, I am Elaine, I'm here, I'm sovereign, I'm grounded, something like that. And when you leave the space, make sure you clear it, right? Clear that energy. Oh, hiccup, I'm clearing the energy already. Move your body, speak out a clearing phrase, or take a salt bath or walk in nature. I always say, if you can't do any of those things, something that you pretty much can always do is find a bathroom and go and wash your hands. Wash the energy off of you. It doesn't have to be elaborate by any means. It just has to be really, really intentional. Okay, so the next one is catching energy leaks, right? And catching them, whether this is before or after their interaction, right? So often we kind of think that draining happens during the interaction, but for so many of us, the real energy loss is in the before and the after, right? It's when, you're overthinking the text thread before you even reply, or when you replay what you should have said, quote unquote, should have said on the drive home, or it's when you carry the weight of someone else's emotion because you didn't want to make it awkward or whatever. These are all energy leaks, and they're really quite subtle, but they're very, very powerful. They kind of just creep in, right? And so every time you leave your body to manage someone else's reaction, that's a leak. Every time you shrink yourself to avoid discomfort, that's a leak. The work isn't to blame yourself here, right? The work is to just have the awareness, to notice, to observe it, to lovingly call yourself back in, to breathe into the place where the leak begins and asks, all right, is this mine? Is this mine to carry? And if not, to let it go, right? Okay, and so the final energy shift is remembering that you don't owe anyone your nervous system. I feel like I really need to repeat that. You don't owe anyone your nervous system. This is big, right? And if you take anything away from this episode, let it be this. You are not responsible for how others react to your boundaries, your truth, or your light. You don't have to justify a short reply. Side note, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to make sure that everyone else is okay before letting yourself rest. You don't have to engage in conversations that feel like they're pulling you out of alignment. You just don't have to do those things. Sometimes the most powerful boundary is choosing not to respond. Think about it, like how powerful is silence in a conversation that is getting heated, right? Now, like this is not out of punishment. This is out of self-respect. Self-respect. Your nervous system is so unbelievably sacred. Your peace is so unbelievably valuable. You are allowed to honor both without apologizing for it. Okay? Right, so what I would love to do, and if you're in a space where you can do this, please like lean all the way in. Otherwise, feel free to pause and come back when you are in a space. And when you're in a space to literally like to pause, you know? So maybe if you're on a walk, you might want to do this with your eyes open. If you're listening at home, just take 30 seconds, take a minute here and just close down your eyes. Like I said, if it feels safe, place one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and just take a slow breath in through your nose with me. So breathing in through your nose, hold it, and then exhale slowly through your mouth. Let's repeat that twice more. So inhale, hold, exhale. One more time. Inhale, hold, exhale. And now just gently say to yourself, I call my energy back to me. I release what's not mine to hold. I am safe in my own space. I am rooted in my light. And just notice what shifts, what softens. You don't need to do more because you've already done enough. And so if you have been feeling perhaps a little overwhelmed or heavy after being around certain people, just remember this. You are not too sensitive at all. You are simply tuned in. And that is a gift. It's not a flaw. It's an absolute gift. Your energy is not a sponge, right? You're not here to absorb everything. You're here to lead your own energetic field with grace, with clarity, and with power. And that's something that we get to practice together, right? It's such a beautiful act of self-love. So with all of that, if this episode landed for you, I would love to know. Please come over to Instagram, send me a message, or share it with somebody that you think needs this reminder. And if you would like to go a little bit deeper into your own healing, you can book a one-on-one energy healing session or a RIM session with me, and we can explore where your energy is leaking and anchor you back into yourself. You can also grab the replay of our most recent group healing session, which was all around heart healing and opening. It's a powerful space for clearing energetic threads and really coming back into your own rhythm. You'll find all of that linked in the show notes below, and also a special discount code if you haven't had an energy healing session with me or a one-on-one session with me. You can use the code below to book in your first session, and we can explore shifting together. All right, my loves. So keeping it nice and short and sweet this week. So until next time, this is your invitation and your reminder to protect your peace, your love, and your heart, because you are absolutely worth it. I will see you again very soon.